everyone, so my name is Kaila Martin and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm going to be talking about Aesthetics by Russ Castronovo and Can to be Destroyed by Sarah Davidmann. So at the beginning of working on this assignment, I had a lot of trouble figuring out what Castronovo was talking about. Due to his complex diction, I had to read the text 3 times over to try and get an understanding of what he was talking about. So I think my problem is I don't have a concrete definition of what aesthetics is in order to incorporate that into what he was talking about. So what really helped me with my understanding is watching crash course videos. So 2 crash course videos that really helped me and I recommend as a resource are, I believe one was called Aesthetics and one was called Aesthetic Appreciation by Hank Green. And he talks a lot about the philosophical history behind definitions of art and what is some classify as art and what others not, as well as what some classify as aesthetics and what don't. So he mentions within that video, R.G. Greenwald's art and aesthetics can be divided into 2 categories of amusement art and magic art. So I thought these 2 definitions were really interesting, and here's why. So amusement art helps the audience escape from reality, diving into a no-stakes fictional world after a stressful day. What I immediately thought of this form of art, I guess, is TikTok. That's automatically where my brain goes to, because so many people go to that as an escape from reality, and since art is subjective, many people may classify TikTok videos as a form of art, as that escape from their current reality after a stressful day. The other definition is magic art, which is the stuff that helps individuals interact with the world's reality. So within Russ Castronovo's aesthetics, as well as Hank Green's video, they talk about Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin because it helped introduce white Americans to the idea that slaves were people just like they were. So for the time period, that book was pretty revolutionary, and it got the American people to think of slavery in a different way. Well, most of the American population, let's be real. Sometimes a work or an aesthetic may be one of the forms or one person and the other form for another person. So when viewing an artwork, a person may view the artwork as magic art and someone else may think of the art as amusement art. And that's completely fine because art is dependent on the person and everyone views it different, which is kind of difficult when trying to create a definition of art as well as aesthetics because it is not concrete, which Russ Castronovo mentions, as there just has never been a concrete definition for art and aesthetics all throughout history. So an intersection of both amusement art and magic art would be the City Beautiful movement, which is mentioned within Russ Castronovo's piece, in which he talks about how it was an attempt to Americanize the heterogeneous population of the United States as a form to Americanize them, whitewash them, into a more homogeneous population. So another form of art and aesthetics purpose would be for the purpose of catharsis, which is the release of emotion that was coined by Aristotle. So this is kind of the definition that most people come to when they think of art or aesthetics in order to invoke certain emotions, such as sadness or horror when watching a sad or scary movie, or watching a romantic movie and feeling happy, that sort of thing of you are not going to run out of a movie theater when you see a scary movie, but it invokes a different emotion, just as a release of what a lot of people experience. So for Sarah Davidmann artwork that was presented on Beachboard, I wanted to do a little bit more research into her career and a little bit of background on the pieces. So on her website, she describes her history of working with the United Kingdom's trans and queer communities, and she wanted to document a lot of that history through photography, oral documentation, and more. So in Can to be Destroyed, she talks about some of the history with one of her family members, and I believe it was in 2011 she and her family found these letters of her family member who on the outside presented as male, but on the inside was female and was trans. But during that time period in the 1950s and 1960s, to my understanding, I don't think there was any terminology regarding transness. So, and due to cisnormativity, they were not able to present themselves the way that they wanted to. So Sarah Davidmann wanted to portray sort of an alternate reality of what her family member's life could have been if being trans was a lot more normalized and more accepted, and that person can live the way they wanted to their life. And I think it was really beautiful, but also sad at the same time. And just from my perspective, I wanted to put myself in the shoes of Ken, which was her family member, and just, it was sad reflecting on that, about how your whole life you are presenting someone that is not who you are on the inside, and you have to live with that your entire life. And it made me think of how many people, I guess, have lived that same journey of them not being able to be who they authentically are due to the limitation and cisnormativity and just bigotry that is in our society, and that just made me really sad. Overall, I would say that Russ Castronovo's take on aesthetics is pretty great in regards to the fact that it takes consideration a lot of different historical perspectives in terms of definitions of aesthetics, and Can to Be Destroyed is a great way of incorporating both the magic art definition as well as the amusement art definition in order to portray a pretty specific demographics reality that a lot of people don't experience, like myself. And I think it is important for people to experience different forms of art that are not precise to their perspective.